What happened when you left and you went off to Thailand? What happened there? Because you obviously got in with a lot of interesting people, took a more spiritual path. So how did that sort of develop, and then develop into how you relaunched back online? When I first heard of you seeming to start to come back in about, I think it was 2002, 2003, you seemed to be coming back from a more spiritual angle. It wasn't so prescriptive. Obviously, the Eriksonian hypnosis itself wasn't prescriptive, but the courses was it was every weekend, it was across the country, it was a very structured thing. Yet you disappeared and then were coming back. And when I first contacted you, you said, I'm having something new, something no one's ever tried before. And it was totally different. So what happened to you over that period of time?
Well, when I went away, I made sure I could survive on very little income. And I had some money, but the last thing I wanted to do was replicate what had happened here. That would be pointless. And so I wanted to do something completely different. And so what I did, I just lived in the jungle. First of all, I went down the south of Thailand to the islands and the beaches. That was like the first thing you think of. You know, if you've been having a nice lifestyle, let's go and live on the beach. You know, which is like a naive thing to do because it's almost a continuation. You know, like let's have some luxury poverty. You know, lie on the beach all day. You know. In fact, that was what gave me the idea to actually go to Thailand anyway at that particular point, because several years before I'd been in Thailand on an island called Koh Samet. I was walking along and I met an Austrian doctor who lived in a bamboo hut, and he'd retired, but he'd go back to Austria for about 2 months a year doing locum work, and that would give him enough income to put in the bank so he could actually just take a boat into the mainland from the island and buy fruit and vegetables, and everything else he got on the island. You know, he fished every day, and he swam 4 hours a day. I remember him telling me that. There's nothing else to do on the island. And I'd met him some time before, and then I met him again several years later when I was there on holiday, and he was still there. You know, he was complaining that the rent on his little bamboo hut had gone up by 50p, and that was a big issue for him a month, you know. And he was fed up of the Japanese businessmen who'd heard about him and had gone there to kind of find out what this lifestyle was like, to live in a bamboo hut without a phone and any amenities. And so I thought, well, if he can do it, the worst thing that happens is I live in paradise. Why not just choose to live in paradise? Don't wait for anything to happen. Just wind it down. So I went there, but I decided that the south and beaches, it was the wrong place. A beach isn't particularly a spiritual place, I don't think. I don't feel it like that. And you've only got half a world to look at, the rest are water. You know, so if you look behind you, you see the world, what's going on. The rest is just water. So it's quite a boring place to live on a beach, especially if you don't turn around and look behind you. And so I thought, well, the mountains. So I went up the north, and I settled up in the mountains of Chiang Mai, about 60 kilometers out of the town, and lived up there by a waterfall. And I had 3 small wooden houses, which were linked together with walkways. And they had to be through walkways because underneath there was water flowing underneath. It was incredibly damp, unbelievably damp. Anyway, I lived there, and by a waterfall with my frog orchestra. I had this every morning. Well, actually all day, I think. You know, I had this chorus of probably thousands of frogs, and so I did. That was it. And so I had a very simple lifestyle, and just trimmed down to the minimum. You know, what I've realised through that is that you can be incredibly happy with just the bare essentials, and that is just food and shelter. And by shelter I mean clothing as well, of course. You know, that's a form of shelter. As long as you've got your food and shelter, you can be very, very happy. And I was incredibly happy because imagine the responsibility of running a successful business. And it's starting to topple. And you think, my goodness, what am I going to do? And all of those things. And then you just let go of all of that. Just let it all go, everything. And then suddenly there's nothing to do except just eat. That's it. That's all you have to do, eat. And sleep in the shelter. With all the responsibility gone. It means that you can concentrate on what's really important. And that's about just you being happy and feeling comfortable in your relationship with what's around you, the people you meet, who are very simple people, and with nature. So what I did was meditate. And I went to visit monks and shaman. There's a lot of shaman up there, do shamanic work. The Thai culture, it's quite complex up in the north. Although it's a Buddhist country, primarily Buddhist, it's mixed with animism. So there is a kind of a shamanic aspect to Buddhism. And the further north you go, the more shamanic it becomes. So you've got this kind of strange kind of hybrid of Buddhism and shamanism together, which isn't true Buddhism, of course, because Buddhism is about not attaching to things, and shamanism is about attaching to beliefs that a tree or a river or a stone has a spirit and it can bring you good luck or bad luck. But anyway, so I worked with these people, and I was a therapist, so I started working when I could. Not work, it wasn't work, I started just experimenting with trance as well. And they're masters at trance. Shaman go in and out of trance. And some of the monks themselves are shaman. Yeah, so you go there to the temple, and it looks like an ordinary monk in the monk robes and the bowl and just a bag, that's it. But then suddenly they whip out some kind of little kind of strange kind of amulet or something like that with oil, and pour oil over and do some little ritual for good luck and to get lottery numbers.
Well, I get a sense that Eriksonian hypnosis would fit nicely into all that, being more naturalistic and utilising people's views and beliefs and who they are as an individual, rather than it being a form of hypnosis coming in and saying you will do this and you will do that, which I would have thought wouldn't go down particularly well. Someone not for the shamanism side of things, if you're not using objects and you're just saying I'm telling you that you're going to go to
a shaman, when people go to a shaman, the people are very open. Because how can you argue with what a shaman says? If your belief system is such that the shaman does magic and it works, you can't sabotage that work consciously. And that's what the essence of Eriksonian work is, of course, that you get into the unconscious. And then the patient can't sabotage the work because it's out of their range of experience. Their conscious, limited mindset. They can't access the unconscious and then take it apart and change it and argue with it. They have to just accept what the unconscious gives them and does. So it's a little bit similar in that way. And an interesting point is, when Erikson was working in the 40s, 50s, he had his own approach, an own belief system, an own theory about what was right or wrong for people. He didn't really have a theory in terms of hypnotic technique. He just threw everything at them and then decided what worked, then used it again if necessary or whatever. So he had all this wonderful toolkit. But in terms of what he wanted people to achieve, that was based on consensus. In America in the 40s and 50s, people had to be married by a certain age. They mustn't divorce, and they would have children within marriage and all of that stuff. So he very much worked towards helping people achieve that. Now nowadays, of course, that's shifted. And being an Eriksonian therapist doesn't mean you buy into that particular model. What it means is you do your thing. Whatever works and is what people want, for example, you do that, but you use all the Eriksonian tools in order to achieve it. So what I took to Thailand and what I brought back, more importantly, is that there are all the Eriksonian tools, but in terms of the principles of change and the values that people can live by, they came from a much more spiritual place. I was Buddhist before I went to Thailand anyway. I was Buddhist since I was a teenager. So when I went to Thailand, I already was primed for that. I kind of knew about it, and so it was a very natural transition for me.